chosen ones, I need to tell you about something that took place last night. This is something incredibly significant and important that even the archangels themselves are completely amazed and astonished by what happened. This was something so incredibly powerful and mighty that it seemed like all of heaven itself paused for just a moment to observe and witness what was taking place. You simply won't be able to believe what actually happened while you were lying there sleeping in your bed. This is something so absolutely extraordinary and remarkable that it has already begun to change and transform your reality, and you really need to hear about this right now, at this very moment. You haven't quite realized it yet, have you? The chosen one, I'm asking you to just pause for a moment and really, truly pay close attention to what I'm about to share with you. Last night, during those hours while you were catching some sleep and resting your physical body, your spirit was actually out and about, active and engaged in the spiritual realm. Even when you felt like absolutely nothing was going on and everything seemed quiet and still, there was actually a lot that was genuinely happening in the unseen world around you. While you were completely out cold and unconscious in the natural, physical world that we can see and touch, something pretty wild and incredible happened in the supernatural realm. There was a supernatural deal, an arrangement, a divine transaction that even the top angels in heaven, the highest-ranking celestial beings, are still trying to wrap their heads around and fully comprehend. You really, truly need to hear this message right now, at this exact moment, because what went down and took place last night has kicked off and initiated a series of events, a chain reaction of circumstances that will begin to show up and manifest in your actual life in just a few short days. Now, this isn't just symbolic language that I'm using to paint a pretty picture. This doesn't really feel like poetic imagery or metaphorical expressions that sound nice but don't mean much. No, this is the actual spiritual reality, the genuine truth of what is happening right now in the realm of the spirit. The archangels, those incredibly powerful warriors of heaven who stand right there in the very presence of God himself, are completely taken back and shocked by what they witnessed. It's not that something bad or negative happened that caught them off guard. Rather, it's that something really amazing, something totally unexpected and surprising, something unlike anything that has happened before just unfolded and occurred, catching even these mighty celestial beings completely off guard and by surprise. And here's the thing that you need to understand. You were right in the very middle of it all, at the center of everything that was taking place. So now, let me take some time to tell you about what went down and what actually happened last night while you were resting. While you were lying there catching some sleep and your physical body was at rest, there was a little gathering, a meeting that took place up in heaven in the throne room of God. The books, the heavenly records that contain all the details of your life, got opened up and were brought forth for examination. I heard your name being mentioned and spoken aloud in that sacred space. Angels began to share updates and give reports about how faithful you have been throughout your journey, how you keep going and persevering even when things get difficult and challenging, and how obedient you've been to the voice and leading of God in your life. They captured and recorded every single tear that you shed in silence when no one else was watching or paying attention. They noted every prayer that you murmured and whispered in hope, believing that God would hear you and answer. They documented every single time you made the decision to believe and trust God, even when absolutely everything around you and all the circumstances you could see were suggesting and telling you that you should doubt and give up instead. As these reports were being shared and presented before the throne, something occurred. Something happened that left all the archangels in complete shock and amazement. You see, when God speaks and opens his mouth to declare something, you can absolutely bet and be certain that all of creation listens carefully and responds immediately to what he says. And in that moment, he said something profound and life-changing. He declared that the time of testing in your life, that season of trials and difficulties that you've been walking through is completely done and finished. Last night, that understanding and that declaration came alive again in the skies and in the heavenly realms. It's not some distant prophecy that we're all sitting around waiting for to happen someday far off in the future. No, this is a moment that's already in motion right now, already set in place and actively working. You're not just wandering around aimlessly for no reason or purpose. You're walking and strolling along, and you're feeling and experiencing the impact and effects of something truly extraordinary and supernatural that has been set into motion. And even now, at this very moment, as you're reading or hearing these words, that power, that supernatural force and energy is right there with you, surrounding you and working on your behalf. That dream you had last night, the one that might have seemed strange or vivid, the tight feeling that you experienced in your chest when you woke up, and those clear, focused thoughts that came into your mind this morning when you first opened your eyes, it's all connected to what happened in the spiritual realm. Trust me when I say it's not just some leftover stuff from your day or random experiences that don't mean anything. Last night, something truly special and divine made its way into your life and attached itself to your destiny. This is a really special place and moment in time that you're stepping into right now. We're giving your story, your narrative, your journey a completely fresh take and a new beginning. It wasn't you who did it or accomplished this through your own strength or ability, but it was Him. It was God Himself who moved on your behalf. The change and transformation is happening right now. It's already in process and taking place, but it's up to you to embrace it and receive it with open arms. As you move forward into this amazing role and calling that God has for your life, I want to encourage you and invite you to share your readiness and willingness. Drop an Amen in the comments below if you're watching or reading this. It's a way to show and demonstrate that you're ready to embrace your God-given purpose and destiny, and that you're committed to sticking with this message and this movement all the way through to the end. We'll wrap things up and conclude with a powerful prayer to help align your heart and your spirit with what heaven has already started and begun to do in your life, chosen one. Just take a moment right now to tune in and connect with your spirit, that innermost part of who you are. Forget about your mind and your emotions and your feelings for just a bit, and instead connect with that deeper part of you, that spiritual part that holds on to the memory and the echo of heaven itself. Last night was so much more than just a shift or a change in the atmosphere. It was a moment of truth, a divine encounter, a turning point in your spiritual journey. As your physical body rested peacefully and quietly in the stillness and silence of the night, sleeping soundly in your bed, everything that was meant for you and designated for your life before you even came into this world, before you took your first breath, was drawn from the heavenly archive and brought forth into the present moment. It hasn't just been reviewed or looked over casually. They didn't simply suggest it or propose it as a possibility. No, it was put into action immediately. It was activated and set in motion, just like it says and promises in Psalm 33 verse 11. But you know the plans of the Lord, the strategies and purposes that God has established, really do stand firm forever and ever without wavering. The intentions of His heart, the desires and purposes that He holds, remain constant across all generations of people throughout all of time. What was decided and determined about you and your life wasn't just a hope or a wish or something that might possibly happen if conditions are right. No, it had a clear purpose and a definite reason behind it. And there's absolutely no way that this purpose is going to be wiped away or cancelled or forgotten. The courts of the Almighty, the judgment seats, and the decision-making chambers of heaven came together and assembled not because there was some kind of crisis or emergency that needed to be addressed, but simply because the time had finally come, the appointed moment had arrived. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 says very clearly, "There's a time for everything and a season for every single activity under the heavens." So, last night was specifically a turning point for your season, a pivotal moment where one season ended and another began. It's not about anything you did or accomplished through your own efforts, and it's not about anything you didn't do or failed to accomplish. It's just that heaven always remembers, never forgets the promises that were made concerning your life before time began. This is exactly why the archangels just paused for a moment and stopped what they were doing. This is the reason that heaven itself held its breath in anticipation. The verdict about your life, the decision that was rendered concerning your destiny, wasn't just a simple yes or no answer, wasn't just a basic approval or denial. No, it was a complete turnaround, a total reversal of circumstances, a dramatic shift in your situation. It's been years and years of waiting patiently, enduring a quiet struggle that most people couldn't see or understand. You know those prayers you whispered into the silence, the ones that felt like they just disappeared into nothing? And remember those moments when hope seemed to slip right through your fingers and fade into darkness? Well, I want you to know that every single one of those prayers was always remembered. Every tiny piece of faith you held on to, every quiet request you made when no one else was listening, every single kind thing you did when nobody was watching, all of it was written down and recorded. So, just like it says in Revelation 8:4, the smoke of the incense mixed with the prayers of God's people rose up to God from the angel's hand. Your prayers have been lifted up to heaven, and now they're returning back to you like powerful thunder rolling across the sky. Everything that used to be hidden away is now coming out into the light. Things that were once kept quiet and secret are now being revealed and brought forward for everyone to see. When your scroll was opened and unsealed right there before the throne of God, light exploded outward, revealing not only God's wonderful plans for your life, but also showing all the enemy's schemes and strategies that had been surrounding your path like invisible walls and hidden barriers that you couldn't even see. There have been years that were so difficult you couldn't even find the words to describe them. There have been opportunities and chances that somehow slipped away from your grasp. There have been relationships that left deep scars on your heart, wounds that remained hidden from everyone's view. But here's what you need to understand. Heaven noticed every single thing, and heaven has responded to it all. This isn't something that's made up or imaginary. There are people who wake up in the morning and feel a quiet, peaceful presence filling their room, a sacred and holy calm washing over them, completely unaware that their name has just been spoken and mentioned in places they cannot see with their natural eyes. There are people who find themselves crying and don't really understand why the tears are flowing, not realizing that their soul is responding and reacting to a spiritual battle that is being fought on their behalf in the heavenly realms. You might actually be one of these people. This message that you're reading right now isn't just randomly sent out into the world. It was timed and positioned perfectly for the exact moment when you would wake up and see it. For such a long time, there have been certain people who thought they could interfere with and mess around with what rightfully and legitimately belongs to you. They have been quietly and secretly spreading lies and falsehoods about your value and your worth. They created barriers and boundaries specifically designed to keep you controlled and held back. But Isaiah 54:17 reminds us with these powerful words, "No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises up against you in judgment you shall condemn. Last night, during the hours of darkness, all of those whispers of accusation and blame simply faded away into nothing. All of the fake friendships and false alliances were finally revealed and exposed for what they truly are. So, there was this person who was close to you, someone in your life, right? When you were out in public together, they always had the sweetest and kindest words to say about you, but when you were behind closed doors and away from everyone else, they could be really cutting and hurtful with their words. And then suddenly, without warning, their true nature and real character came out into the open for everyone around them to see clearly. This revelation isn't about getting revenge or getting back at anyone for what they did. This is all about justice, real and true justice. You know, the kind of divine justice that comes straight from heaven itself. And when the truth finally came out into the light, the armies and hosts of heaven reacted with the same intensity and power as they did on that glorious morning when Christ stepped out of the tomb alive. Light burst forth and exploded in every direction. Sound rattled and shook everything all around, and pure joy echoed and rang out through the skies above. The Lord has spoken these words. I will give back to you the years that the locusts have eaten and taken away. That's Joel chapter 2, verse 25. This isn't just a nice promise about something that might happen in the future. This is something that is actively happening and taking place right now in this very moment. There are going to be some people who might question what's being said here, or who might doubt whether this is real. But deep down in the innermost part of the Spirit, the truth is known. If these words are touching something inside of you and resonating with your heart, it's not just about being mentally convinced or persuaded by arguments. Your soul simply knows the truth of it, doesn't it? Heaven has already done amazing things for you before this moment, hasn't it? This time is just going to be the most noticeable and visible one yet. So, there is a gate that has been opened, and I'm not talking about a physical gate that you can touch with your hands, but rather a spiritual doorway that has been unlocked for you. It doesn't burn with the kind of harmful fire that destroys, but rather it glows with a glorious and holy flame that cleanses and purifies everything it touches. There are angels standing there, not just symbolic representations or pretty pictures, but real living beings who are ready and waiting for you to agree with and align yourself with what has already been set in motion and decided in the heavenly realms. The Lord doesn't actually need your permission or your approval to pour out blessings on your life, but He does graciously invite you to get in sync and in harmony with what He's doing. A genuine miracle is sitting right at your doorstep waiting for you, but only those people who actually notice it and recognize it will take the step to walk inside and receive it. So, there's this man named Joseph, and you can read all about his story in the book of Genesis if you want to look it up. Can you even believe what happened to him? He was betrayed and let down by his own brothers, the people who should have loved and protected him. He was sold into slavery like he was nothing more than property. He was thrown into prison and locked up for crimes and things he didn't even do or commit. But through all of that pain and suffering, God was always right there with him, never leaving his side. And when the timing was absolutely perfect and just right, without any struggle or manipulation or clever tricks on Joseph's part, he suddenly found himself elevated to a position of incredible power and authority. His entire story wasn't really about him seeking revenge or trying to get vindication for himself. It was completely and entirely about the perfect timing that comes from the universe and from God. Just like Joseph experienced, all of the challenges and difficulties and hardships you have faced haven't taken you out of the race or removed you from the game. Instead, they have actually been setting you up and preparing you for what's coming. This isn't a new path that's just been created. It's the ancient route and road that was shaped and formed by the hand of the Almighty God long before you even took your very first breath in this world. So here we are right now, with heaven itself standing as our witness, and with eternity watching over us and keeping an eye on everything that's happening. And the Lord is speaking these words: the time is now, the moment has arrived. What was held back and kept from you is now being released and brought out into the open. The items that were stolen from you are being returned and put back where they rightfully belong. What was once covered up and hidden away is now being exposed and brought out into the light of day. What took place and happened last night was so much more than just a simple change or shift. It wasn't just a dream that you had while you were sleeping, or some kind of vague spiritual experience that could be interpreted in many different ways depending on who's looking at it. It was like a massive heavenly shake-up, something powerful and significant that couldn't be reversed or undone. An announcement was made and a decree was issued in the highest realm of heaven. And even right now, in this very moment, you can feel the vibrations and echoes of it resonating and moving through all of creation around you. Hidden spiritual worlds and dimensions were stirred up and awakened from their slumber. Thrones were carefully arranged and lined up, standing tall and majestic. The endless cosmic order shifted and moved to make space and room for one single blazing command that came from the mouth of God. And still, even now, the cry of heaven continues to linger in the atmosphere this morning. The question being asked is this: why hasn't the chosen one noticed what has happened yet? It was definitely and absolutely not just another ordinary night like all the others. As the entire world slept peacefully and you wandered through the quiet stillness of the dark hours, something ancient and incredibly powerful began to stir and awaken from its rest. An urgent and fierce call echoed and rang out through dimensions and realms that had never known a moment of rest or peace. It's not the sound of a trumpet blasting, and it's not a gentle whisper in your ear. It's the actual voice of the Ancient of Days himself speaking. When God's voice echoes out across creation, everything that has been created comes to life and responds. So last night, during those dark hours, that powerful voice called together and assembled the divine council. The rooms and chambers were completely filled with a light so incredibly bright and intense, it would be almost blinding and impossible for any human eyes to look upon directly. Thrones that were glowing and radiating with an everlasting flame stood arranged in a solemn and serious formation. And right there, positioned in the very center of that heavenly courtroom, was your personal scroll. The complete story of your life was laid out and displayed for everyone present to see and examine. What happened next in that moment wasn't really a formal ceremony with rituals and traditions. It was more like an intense battle being fought for what was right and just. An angel stepped forward into view, holding and carrying all the pain and suffering you've been through in your life, every single lie that was fed to you and that you believed, and every betrayal that you quietly endured and faced without anyone knowing. It feels like every promise that was made to you has been broken and shattered without you even fully realizing it happened, and all those frustrating delays in your life weren't actually your fault at all, but were just obstacles thrown in your way by forces working against you. As it says in Psalm 56:8, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each and every single one in your book." Everything was brought forward and covered. God sees and notices every loss you've experienced, and absolutely no hidden act of sabotage goes unnoticed or unrecorded by him. Then Michael, who is the commander and leader of heaven's armies and hosts, showed up and appeared, not in a gentle or soft way, but with the fierce and terrible strength of divine protection and defense. His sword, which was shining and gleaming like the brightest stars in the night sky, was drawn and pulled out not to cause harm or hurt, but to cut through and separate truth from lies with perfect precision. With a voice that caused every corner of heaven to fall silent and become hushed, he declared these words, "This far and no further." Those words weren't meant to be just a simple warning about what might happen. They were the final order and the ultimate command, and when those powerful words were spoken and released, it was like thunder rolling and rumbling through the entire world and all of creation. Structures and systems that had been holding you back and keeping you trapped finally gave way and collapsed at their very foundation. It's like those invisible prisons that were constructed and made up of the negative words people said about you, the fears that you picked up and collected along your journey, and those destructive patterns that you never really wanted or chose for yourself. They all just crumbled and fell away when they came face to face with something so powerful and transformative. As it turns out, you weren't fully aware or conscious of the ties and chains that were binding you, but heaven certainly was aware of every single one of them. You might not have noticed or realized just how long the delay in your life had been going on, but God definitely noticed and kept track of every single day. And just like that, with one single word spoken from his mouth, the entire delay was completely removed and eliminated. But what happened next in that courtroom really made even the mighty archangels pause and stop to take notice of what was unfolding. A figure stepped forward and moved out from the assembly of beings gathered there. This was a person who is connected to your life in some way, someone whose face you would recognize if you saw them, someone who seemed like a reliable companion and friend to you. This person that you allowed and let into your inner circle and trusted with your heart had always had a different vibe and different energy when things were quiet and private. Even if you didn't catch or notice their subtle movements and actions, heaven made absolutely sure to take note of and record everything they did. There are hidden intentions that people keep secret, quiet alliances that are formed in the shadows, and silent efforts and actions that can really hold back and hinder your progress right from the very start and beginning. They thought that no one was watching or paying attention to what they were doing, but heaven sees absolutely everything with perfect clarity. When God's brilliant light filled and flooded the room, there wasn't a single shadow left remaining anywhere. Their mask broke and shattered into pieces. The web and network they worked so hard to create began to unravel and fall apart. Their schemes and plans were uncovered and brought to light, and then they were assessed and judged not out of anger or rage, but through the lens and perspective of perfect holiness and righteousness. And in that moment of judgment, something completely and totally unexpected happened that surprised everyone present. Your scrolls, the records of your life, started to shine and glow, not with destructive flames, but with a sense of glory and greatness and honor. Then Gabriel appeared and showed up on the scene. The messenger of the Most High God was shining bright and brilliant like rivers of pure light flowing. He took a step closer and moved forward, and then he unrolled the scroll that had your name written on it. What other people had written on your scroll in defilement and with evil intent was wiped completely clean as if it had never been there. They wiped away and removed any signs or evidence of sabotage, leaving absolutely no trace behind to be found. The betrayal that you endured and suffered through was overturned and reversed. The lies that were spoken against you and your character were scattered and blown away like ashes in the wind. Heaven took what was lost and stolen from you and restored it back to you. And that certain someone who thought they had authority and power over your blessing and your destiny was exposed and revealed for who they really are. And then they were removed from their position. Psalm 35:10 says these words, "With every bone in my body I will praise him. Lord, who can compare with you? Who else rescues the helpless and weak from those who are strong and powerful?" And that's exactly and precisely what happened in that moment. You were defended and fought for in the courts of eternity while you were peacefully sleeping and had no idea what was happening. Don't move an inch. Don't even blink your eyes. Don't let any distraction steal your attention or rob you of the truth that is unfolding and being revealed right in front of you at this very moment. Michael raised his mighty sword high, and it was shining bright and brilliant like a bolt of lightning flashing across the sky. And just like that, in an instant, every single chain that was wrapped around your fate and your destiny was cut loose and broken free. Gabriel's trumpet definitely didn't play softly or quietly. It shot and rang out across the sky and through the heavens, carrying and bringing the sound and announcement of your freedom from one world and realm to another. And the Most High God himself said these urgent words, "Make sure to tell them before the night is over and done, or else the door of opportunity will close and shut." This is why this message keeps finding its way to you again and again. The heavens above are not simply waiting around idly for God to make a move or take some kind of action. The truth is that God has already taken action. He has already done what needed to be done. What the heavens are doing right now is watching carefully to see if you're going to respond to what's already been set in motion. This whole situation isn't really about what God has the power to do or what he might do in the future. Instead, it's completely about whether you are truly ready and willing to embrace and accept what he has already accomplished and put into place for you. The veil that has been covering things is beginning to lift right now. What has been kept away from you and held at a distance is now just moments away from connecting directly with your spirit and your innermost being. So listen carefully. Last night was absolutely a total game changer in every possible way. But here's the thing, the world around you didn't really let you in on what happened. It appears that social media platforms didn't provide any coverage of this incredible event. Your phone didn't suddenly light up with any kind of notification about it. This significant moment was designed and intended for the throne room of heaven, not for the headlines in newspapers or on news websites. And guess what? You are literally the first person to hear about this monumental shift. The angels are completely amazed and in awe right now. They're not amazed by the darkness that made an attempt to hold you back and keep you down. No, they're amazed by the incredible and powerful light that broke through and shone brilliantly for you. They watched with their own eyes as doors that had been firmly closed and locked for years upon years suddenly swung wide open without warning. They noticed and observed blessings that were once carefully hidden away from view come flowing toward you with great force, like mighty rivers breaking free from a massive dam that had been holding them back. They witnessed your entire life being transformed right there in the flames of divine justice. The angels were actually talking among themselves and asking each other important questions like, "Do you think they know yet? Do they have any idea? Do they notice the significant change that has taken place? Do they realize and understand that what was lost has actually come back to them? There's no need to wonder about it anymore. The book of Job, chapter 42, verse 10 mentions something powerful when it says, "And the Lord restored Job's fortunes when he prayed for his friends." Not only that, but the Lord blessed him with double everything that he had before his trials began. What you genuinely thought was the absolute end of your story turned out to be your major turning point instead. What you believed with all your heart was a terrible loss was actually just the necessary setup for an incredible comeback that you never saw coming. But heaven is just hanging out and waiting patiently for you to wake up and realize what's happened. Last night truly felt like a sacred reset button was pressed on your life. Every single plan that was designed to hold you back and keep you from your destiny was completely revealed and exposed for what it truly was. The person who smiled warmly at you while secretly scheming behind your back has been fully revealed, and their true nature has been made known. Their influence and power over your situation has completely come to an end. Their voices that once spoke against you were permanently quieted and silenced. Your name rose high above the storms and chaos that tried desperately to hide it away and keep it buried. Your life scroll wasn't just simply opened up for review. Instead, they actually rewrote it entirely with new words and new promises. The fire that changed and transformed your story is still burning strong and hasn't gone out. It seems very clear that heaven has already made its final choice and decision. Now it's time for the earth and everything in it to align with that heavenly decision. You're positioned right in the middle of a moment that was actually created and designed long before you even came along and existed in this world. The angels most definitely know who you are without any shadow of doubt. There's no question about it at all. God knows exactly and precisely what your calling and purpose is in this life. So the really big question that remains is this: are you going to check it out and investigate what's been done? Can you actually believe and accept it as truth? Are you going to stick around long enough to catch and receive the whole truth that's been following you and pursuing you? Even if everything appears to be the same on the outside and nothing looks different in the natural world, in the spiritual realm and dimension, things have dramatically shifted and changed for you. What you thought was being kept back and held away from you has actually already been released and let out. And guess what? What you thought you had lost forever is actually already back with you right now in this moment. What you were deeply worried about and concerned over is actually heading directly your way as we speak. The book of Isaiah, chapter 22, verse 22 says something very important when it declares, "I will place on his shoulder the key to the house of David. What he opens, nobody can close, and what he closes, nobody can open." So last night, it felt exactly like the keys of authority were handed over to some kind of powerful angel, and those doors that were shut tight and sealed against you, well, they've finally been opened up wide for you to walk through. And you know what else? No one and nothing, neither envy nor betrayal nor darkness itself, can shut and close what God has opened up for you. The archangels are still hanging around in your atmosphere, their magnificent wings still fluttering and moving just a bit. They've experienced and witnessed so much glory that they simply can't just keep quiet and remain silent about it. They're actively watching over you, hoping for you, praying on your behalf, and whispering encouragement. They're saying, make sure they don't miss it now. Make absolutely sure they don't overlook this. They're really close to receiving everything. They're right there. That's exactly why you might be feeling a little something stirring inside you that you just can't quite put into words or explain properly. Your heart is racing faster, and something deep inside you just won't let you keep scrolling past this message. Your soul understands and comprehends things that your natural eyes haven't discovered or seen yet. You've absolutely hit the nail on the head with this moment. You've been through so much hardship and difficulty that could have easily brought you down and destroyed you completely, but it was all worth it in the end. Heaven was right there noticing and paying attention to every single tear that fell from your eyes, gathering up every cry that came from your heart, keeping careful track of every injustice that was done to you, and reshaping your entire story with perfect justice, abundant mercy, and purifying fire. Last night, a powerful decree echoed and rang out through all the ages of time. It's all completely done and finished, and here you are standing firmly on sacred and holy ground. From this moment forward, and from now on, every word we speak really matters and carries weight because of that divine decision that was made. You're not just sitting around passively waiting on God to get started with something new. Instead, it's time for you to open your eyes and see clearly what He's already done and accomplished. The next word that comes is going to bring you exactly what your heart has been patiently waiting to hear for so long. The next moment that unfolds is going to lift away the last remaining veil that's been covering your eyes. The truth that you believed was gone forever and lost has come rushing back to you like a strong and powerful breeze that you can feel on your face. And the angels are still actively calling out your name with great passion. You need to stay tuned and keep paying attention, because what's coming next is going to unlock the final chamber of the revelation that's been prepared for you. And trust me when I say this, your life will completely change and transform once you hear it and receive it into your spirit. Heaven itself has shifted and moved, so the decision is officially in and has been announced. And guess what? Your name has been specifically mentioned in the courts of the Almighty God. Last night, while you were peacefully sleeping in your bed without a care in the world, something absolutely incredible and remarkable happened in the realm of glory and in the heavenly places. A verdict was declared and announced that was so powerful and mighty. It felt like it shook all of eternity itself and every realm that exists. Archangel Michael stood tall and fierce and strong, like an impenetrable wall of blazing fire, protecting and guarding all that rightfully belongs to you and is yours by divine decree. A rumble that sounded like powerful thunder echoed and reverberated through time itself, signaling and announcing your complete freedom and liberation. The message was clear: it's finally time. The chosen one is finally free and released from every chain. And God, in all His magnificent power and authority, said with absolute finality, "Let them know and understand that after tonight passes, this particular moment will be gone for good and will never come again in quite this way." That's the exact reason you're here reading this right now. Your heart has been feeling a bit restless and unsettled, hasn't it? Why did you feel such a strong need to stick around and keep reading, even when your logical mind was completely ready to let go and move on to something else? This isn't just a random coincidence or chance occurrence. This is absolutely perfect timing orchestrated from heaven itself. You're right there looking out from a window that feels like it stretches on forever into eternity. Every single moment you spend here in this space is filled to overflowing with deep meaning and divine purpose. Each breath you take brings a fresh new insight and revelation to your understanding. Heaven showed us and revealed clearly who was standing directly in your way and blocking your path. And that mask they had been wearing so carefully for years and years, it was completely ripped off right in front of the angels so everyone could see their true face. What you're hearing and reading right now isn't just something about inspiration or motivation. It's much more like getting a direct message straight from above, from the throne room itself. You're really diving deep into a story that's uniquely yours. You're about to discover something absolutely amazing that will change everything. Every second you spend here reading these words is actively getting you closer and closer to the big reveal of what was decided and determined in glory. And the archangels are still persistently saying and insisting, don't let them turn away from this now. Make absolutely sure they don't overlook this critical truth. Make certain they don't miss what's being revealed. Hey, this is your time to shine brightly. This is your golden chance to take a close look at what's been prepared. This is your appointed moment in time. Last night, a beautiful and brilliant light broke through the oppressive darkness that had surrounded you. All those heavy chains that held your promise and destiny together in bondage are now completely broken and shattered. All those hidden delays that were working against you were totally wiped away and removed. And every single stolen blessing started flowing back into your life like an endless flood that cannot be stopped or contained. The sky itself trembled and shook. The angels were taken back in amazement and wonder. And here you are, not even fully realizing or comprehending all the good that's already been done for you behind the scenes. But now it seems crystal clear that heaven absolutely won't let you stay in the dark anymore about this. The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 3 mentions something significant when it says, I will give you hidden treasures, riches that are stored in secret places, so that you may know beyond any doubt that I am the Lord. What was once kept carefully under wraps and hidden from view is now coming fully to light and being revealed. And you're starting to see with clarity the treasures that were buried and hidden beneath the heavy weight of false alliances and things you couldn't see or understand before this moment. Stay in a place where you can feel the deep connection to something greater than yourself, because the last remaining piece of the truth is coming to light right now in this moment. What the angels saw with their own eyes last night is now being whispered directly into your spirit and your innermost being. Archangel Michael, the great and mighty warrior of heaven, stood at full attention with a sword that was burning and blazing like lightning, actively defending what heaven had written and decreed over your life. Every lie that was spoken against you and your character is now completely silenced and has no more power. Every spiritual barrier that was erected has been destroyed and torn down, and every hand that tried to block your inheritance and keep you from what's yours has been permanently removed. Gabriel's trumpet didn't sound like beautiful music this time. Instead, it sounded exactly like warfare and battle. It was a bold statement that echoes and rings through the skies and all the heavenly realms. The announcement was clear and unmistakable. The chosen one is finally out and free. It's finally their moment and their time. The long wait is finally done and over. We really need to get to the bottom of this truth and understand it fully. And God himself said with absolute authority, before the night wraps up and comes to an end, let them know without any doubt that this is their last chance to witness and see what I've already accomplished on their behalf. This message is reaching you at exactly the right time, not a moment too soon or too late. Your heart is feeling that strong pull and attraction for a very good reason. That's the exact reason you're still around and haven't clicked away. You're tuning in and paying close attention because there's a part of you deep down inside that just gets it and understands. This isn't just any random word or generic message. This is your specific word, my friend. This is meant precisely for you. What they wanted desperately to keep quiet and hidden is now being heard loud and clear by everyone. They've reissued what they tried so hard to steal from you, and now it has your name written all over it. What they thought they had successfully buried forever is already coming back to life and being resurrected. Heaven is still actively talking and speaking. The angels are still close by, staying near and listening in carefully. Every moment you spend here in this space feels incredibly special and sacred. Every word you're hearing and reading right now is filled completely with the intensity and power of divine justice being released. This is why this message keeps coming your way again and again, and why you're meant to receive it fully into your heart and spirit right now.